before when we were talking, you came in last time, you kind of had a beard and some hair. Now you're like bald, and just clean shaven.
Right.
And so you wanted to do some different stuff.
Yeah. Well, I was really, when we talked about it, I always set out, I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to establish myself as an actor. I didn't want to be like a movie star. I didn't want to be the next Rock. So, I lost a lot of weight. I stayed away from the weights. I tried to get more of a normal look. It wasn't real successful at doing that. But anyway, I attempted, and I grew facial hair just to make me, look a little bit more, less rough around the edges. But, now I'm kind of want those roles that I was turning down at first.
Like what kind of roles?
Like bigger action roles, action star roles. I want to go after the kind of stuff that people would expect me to do because I think I've established myself as an actor. I built a little bit of credibility, but now I can afford to go after those roles and not get typecast because that's what I didn't want to get typecast.
Which is the same thing that The Rock went through 10 years ago when he got really skinny. If you see pictures of him,
right,
he was doing Tooth Fairy and that sort of thing. It's like, holy shit, did he ever he turned his mind around on that as well?
Yeah, and then he went back to wrestling. He got his audience back. Got super jacked, and just went after those big blockbuster roles. And that's kind of what I'm doing now. And the reason it's a luxury for me to have like Guardians to fall back on. Because now I know that, that's my bread and butter. Drax is my bread and butter. Marvel's really good to me. But now I can go out and do indie films.
Right.
Yeah, I can take on those acting roles. So it's really a great luxury to have. But also at the end of the day, I still need to pay the bills.
But it also, too, Dave, it seems like you've become almost like a really big movie star, almost under the radar.
Super under the radar.
But you talk about The Rock, and I know John Cena's getting a lot of stuff. But think of all the stuff that you've done since Drax. And we mentioned,
for sure.
Blade Runner with Harrison Ford, and you did, the Bond movie, and then you get your Avengers as a result, still as Drax. But the thing with Stallone, which we have to talk about, but it's just suddenly Bautista, you're the it guy for guys if they're looking for somebody who's a big jacked up guy. But that's good though. That's your niche now. That's
what I'm trying to really establish, and the reason is because I found that the more of a commodity you are, the easier it is to get shit done. That's when you can get pride. You can go to studios with scripts and say, man, I'd really like to make this movie. And they say, yeah, we can make some money off that. Let's do it. So if you establish your name like that and you're marketable and they can, you're profitable, they will, you get projects done. And that's where I want to be because I want to start getting my own projects done. I want to go to them, say, this is a great script, man. We should really do this and do it, even whether I'm in it or not. But I want to be able to,
behind the scenes as a producer.
I do. That's where I want to be. Yeah. Because I'm starting to think retirement now. And
really?
So, yeah, for sure. I don't have a huge window left.
For acting, really?
Yeah, no. Because, at the end of the day, it's just the way I'm built and the way I look, it's just going to limit me. And
I see what you're saying.
As I'm aging, it's going to limit me even more.
It's like when Terminator 3 came out, Schwarzenegger. It's not quite the same, right? The idea of the Terminator.
Yeah, he's not the same.
Yeah, he's not
the Terminator.
He's like 7 years old now.
He's the governor.
that does make sense though. Kind of going behind the scenes.
Yeah, for sure.
I think in Hollywood too, and we've seen this with you and John as well right now, is when you start getting hot.
Right.
You're getting calls. So now's the time to strike with that.
Yeah, and the cool thing is I've really worked hard. We probably went a slower route than we could have, but at the same time, I established myself in such great acting roles, and some of the stuff will still come out. That now I'm just more well-rounded, and people will believe in me for bigger projects. I've really established myself by, which is kind of evident when you look at the projects that I'm getting that I'm on board with that I haven't even filmed yet, but the offers I'm getting, starring opposite Jodie Foster. Just stuff like that.
That's huge. More acting type parts.
Yeah, and that's what I need because I don't want to be just the big musclehead, the big ex-wrestler. I want to be Dave can really pull off this part, man. We can make some money with this. Around the world, there's people who don't know him as a wrestler.
When you start talking about Drax being your bread and butter, it's one of those things where I think I said this the last time around. It's like it's the role you were born to play.
Yeah.
Because it really is. He really is you. He's a big guy, but very sarcastic.
Yeah.
The way you play that, where he doesn't really get the joke, he's very literal, but you have that sense of humor.
A little bit of a deadpan, yeah.
Yeah, it really is you. And when you see that, it's like, holy shit, this is perfect for you.
So funny, right?
But when you're talking about some of the other stuff that you've done, how much have you grown as an actor, even from the first Guardians?
Tremendously. Yeah, tremendously. And it's one of those things where, we've talked about before. I'm an on-the-job learning actor. I don't have the luxury of going to drama school and all that stuff, so I'm learning on the job. So every time I come off a project, I'm a little better. So Yeah, it's just throughout the years, it's just progressively.
Who are some of the
learning.
guys that you've learned from as far as the
Everybody,
craft?
man. I really take away from every job that I've done. I take away something from it, And I've purposely put myself, even if they weren't the best projects, I've put myself next to really, really great actors. Like even going back to the beginning, I was always smart about that. Like I did a film called House of the Rising Sun, and the reason why I really thought this would be a great learning experience is because I got to work with an actor named Dominic Purcell. This was very early in my career, and he gave me advice that I'm still using to this day. That I always think of.
Like, what is some of the stuff he told you?
He always, it was weird, man. When I first started, he said, just focus on your breathing, man. Sometimes I'm just saying the words, but I'm not thinking like what I just went through. He said, you're always in different settings. You're going to be breathing differently. If you're stressed, you're going to be breathing differently. If you just ran up a flight of stairs, because they don't, they shoot everything out of sequence.
Right. Yeah.
So if you sometimes just focus on your breathing, and it'll add a different element to the scene, to your performance. And I still do that all the time. It's just some things you're saying. It's in a stressful moment, you're breathing differently.
That's a great point.
Yeah, man. So I always think about that, and that was something I took back. This is 2010. I did this, but I still always utilize that. And I remember, and like Zoe Saldana asked questions. Like when on the first Guardians we did, she asked so many questions, and I thought, man, we're never going to shoot this scene because she's asking questions. But it's like priceless, man. It's one of those invaluable things you just you can't ask enough questions, man, because it puts you in the right mindset. You know where you were, where you're going, what you're doing, what you're thinking, how you feel about another character. It all adds up, and it lends to your performance.
Was she asking questions to the director or to
the director? Usually to the director. Always to the director. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, once again, it makes a lot of sense. Relating it back to wrestling. The more questions, especially like if Vince, if Vince being the director, let's say, but sometimes you're getting messages from the assistant director via Vince. I'd have to go talk to Vince face to face to find out, like, what is it that you want? Because most of the time, if he tells you, you'll get it.
It's storytelling.
Right.
It's all storytelling.
Yeah, directly from the source.
And that's one of the things I really feel like, some people in wrestling, like some people get it and some people don't. They just forget that they're telling a story and not out there just doing moves.
That's the true story. Yeah, absolutely. In the ring and outside of it as well.
Yeah.
So speaking of Guardians,